ISIS. Today's Bible story is Peter denies knowing Jesus.
A big idea. Jesus saved us from sin, so we can boldly tell others that I'm with him.
Peter was afraid of what would happen if he admitted he followed Jesus. But Jesus is the best news ever. We should boldly tell others that we belong to him. Jesus is good news. Following him is nothing to be ashamed of. It's the sanest decision you can ever make. Who can you tell about Jesus this week?
Hey Isis, have you ever been afraid to tell people that you follow Jesus?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No. Have a blessed day!
Come on, church, just begin to lift your hands this morning as we worship our God. When I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority. Come on. Jesus has given me, when I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority. Oh, Jesus has given me. Come on, when I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority. And Jesus has. Oh, when I open my mouth, when I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority. Jesus has given me. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand defeated. Every battle you won. I am who you say I am. And you crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. He's conquered it all. Yeah. Come on, church, let's just sing that bridge out one more time. When I lift my voice. When I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority. Come on, church. Jesus has given me. When I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority Jesus has given me. When my voice and shout. Come on, church, just lift your voice this morning. Crashing. He's given us the authority, amen. All that Jesus, when I open up my mouth, miracles, I have the authority, yeah. Jesus has given. Oh, when I shout, voice and shout, everyone comes crashing down. Yes, I have Jesus, when I open up my mouth, yeah. Oh, miracles come, miracles go. Come on, church, we sing. You are my champion. Giants fall when you stand undefeated. Giants, and you crown me, yes. I have seen heavenly place undefeated, with no one who has conquered it all. Oh, he's conquered it all. Yeah. Oh.
Stay connected to the TVC family across all platforms to receive the latest updates and engage with our online community.
Hello, we want to welcome you to midweek. Thank you for joining us. I just have a few announcements for you. We have Good Friday coming up at 10:30 a.m. Pastor will be giving a special word, and it's just a special day, so we just want to make sure you join us. That would be in person. I don't believe it will be online, so just make sure you join us in person at church. The second thing is this Sunday is Easter Sunday, so make sure you join us. Invite someone because it's going to be a good one. It's Resurrection Sunday, so you don't want to miss. But we just want to thank you for joining us today, and let's get to it. I have a word for you. I was asked to share, and let's see if it helps you guys, if it's a word for you guys. But what it's called is God Needs You. So I just wanted to share that specific title with you guys. I was asking God, and he woke me up one morning, and I was like, all right, here it is. This is the word. So it says, God needs you. That's the title, right? But let's be real. Can he do it without you? Yes, he can. Yes, he can. I don't want to lie to you. He can do it without you. He can find someone else to do it. And I'm just going to summarize what he told Esther. It's in Esther chapter 4, verse 14. It says, don't think that just because you live in the king's house, you're the one Jew who will get out of this alive. If you persist in staying silent at a time like this, help and deliverance will arrive for the Jews from someplace else. But you and your family will be wiped out. Who knows? Maybe you were made queen for such a time as this. So yes, God does need you, but he can find someone else to do it. And that's exactly what was said to Esther in that moment. That verse just says, what does it mean? It means that God can find deliverance for the brokenhearted somewhere else. God can find deliverance for the lost soul somewhere else. God can find deliverance for those in need somewhere else, even if you don't say yes. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't that God doesn't need you. He definitely needs you. Your hands can do so much more than what you can imagine. But like I just said, I'm being real with you. He can find another person to do it if you say no to God. So he will find a way to be glorified somehow, but I'm just going to say it again. God needs you. The verse says it plain and simple. The choice is ours. We can say yes. We can say yes to God right now, or we can just act like he's not talking to us, act like he's not there. But your yes matters. Your yes matters now. So I'm just going to jump into what has been placed in my heart. That was my little intro on that. Um, what if you don't say yes to God? What if you end up saying yes to God later on? Think about this question. I always ask myself this, and it's something that's so important. Who could have been saved if you would say yes to God sooner? Who in your family would have been saved? Your neighbor, the person standing on the corner. And I say that because what has been said over our church, what has been prophesied over our church, we are a church that is like a hospital, right? And it's not just for the people who look like us. It's not for the people who think like us. It's not for the people who are exactly like us or, a twin like us. No, it's for people who, like the homeless people too. That's what has been prophesied over our church, the people who are lost. And pastors keep saying this, and I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because it kept reminding me as I was writing this part down. They keep saying, we are going all in. We are standing in the gap. We are going all in prayers. So I want to tell you this right now. Your yes matters to God. And even if you're questioning it in this moment, God has called you. God has a plan for you, and that's part of what we're called to do. We're called to bring the people into church. We're called to bring the church to them. We are the church, So say this to yourself. My yes matters to God. My yes matters now. And maybe maybe you're saying, I've already been saying yes to God, but I'm being overlooked. No one's calling on me, no one's picking me, and no one's using me. Let me just tell you this: God sees you. He sees your heart. He sees what you're going through. He sees that you're willing. So don't think you're being overlooked. God's going to take care of you in the right time. He's going to you're probably going through a David season where David was just, overlooked by his family, but eventually he becomes king. So wait for your time. Just wait for it. But there's a story I want to emphasize on, and it's the story of Peter because, this week is Holy Week. And I just wanted to follow up with what pastors are going to be talking about this week because it's, Good Friday, Resurrection Sunday, all about that. But I wanted to talk about the story of Peter. And I know that's probably one of the last things we could think of, like, why are we talking about Peter, or why even talk about him? But the story of Peter is just highlighting where Jesus is arrested and he is betrayed. And in that moment, Jesus had already told Peter, he said, you're going to deny me 3 times. And I was like, man, how can someone do that to God? How can someone do that to Jesus? Like, that's one of his own people, one of his disciples, and he's denying God leading up to the moment where he gets crucified. But I know the main focus this week is Jesus, but I want to focus a little bit on Peter because what he does in this moment, it really highlights a lot of the things that we do in our personal lives with God. It really highlights what we do, like in our daily life. Sometimes this is what we do. So if you can go to Luke chapter 22, and I'm going to start at verse 54, that way you guys get the full background on it. It says, then they seized him, talking about Jesus, and led him away, bringing him into the high priest's house. And Peter was following at a distance. And it says, and when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat down among the people. Then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light and looking closely at him, said, "This man, Peter, also was with him." But Peter denied it, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." That spoke to me so much. I was like, man, Peter, out of all people, he's one of the disciples of God. He was with him in that moment, and Jesus had already warned him. He's like, "You're going to deny me 3 times." 3 times before, leading up before he gets crucified, he denies God. And the lady says, Peter's sitting in the story, if you can just picture it. I love picturing the Bible stories. Peter is sitting with the people, just random people in a courtyard, and it says, I think they were doing like a fire or a light, I can't remember. Kindled a fire in the middle. So they're doing a fire, and he sits next to them. He's trying to be like them. He's trying to be part of the crowd, and he's trying to be like, oh yeah, this is what everybody's doing, and Jesus just got arrested. No big deal. He's trying to follow up with God and see what's going on. But the lady goes, "Hey, you're one of those people. You're one of his followers. You're definitely one of them." And Peter's like, "Woman, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know him." And that just really hit me. That struck my heart, because sometimes that's what we do. And I'm like, wow. On one of the most important moments in Jesus' life, like when he needs support, when he needs, his people with him, his disciples, he handpicked these people. Peter denies him. And not only does he deny him once, it says, and a little later, someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." And then after an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, saying, "Certainly this man was also with him, for he too is a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are talking about." And immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. And Peter remembered the saying of the Lord, how he said to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly. But that just spoke so strongly to me, because I was like, wow, a lot of times that's what we do to God. A lot of times we act like we know who God is only when it's convenient for us. We speak up when it's convenient for us. We wake up early to pray when it's convenient for us. We fast when it's convenient. We arrive on time or early for church when it's convenient for us. We give our time or our money when it's convenient. We act like Peter and forget God. Sometimes this came to my mind when I was saying it. Sometimes we say, "Forget it." That's what Nana Pora sometimes says. She's like, "Forget it." Sometimes we say, "Forget it" to God. Sometimes I forget him. It's not convenient for me, and it's not convenient for me. It's not going with what's going on in my life right now. So I say this to that. I'm not going to forget God. Even if I fail God, I want to say I'm running back to him. I want to make sure I'm not failing him. And we are going to fail. That's part of life. But even if we decide to say, "You know what? I'm going to do it only when it's convenient for me," that's all good. Keep it up. You can do that. You're only limiting God. You're only limiting in what God can do in your life. You're only limiting, someone being allowed the chance to see God through your life. You're probably like forcing something that shouldn't be forced. But the main thing that's so important, because we are called to help people. We're a hospital, right? You're probably preventing someone from getting to know God through you. You're probably tainting the view that they have on God, because you're like a Bible. Your life is like a Bible. So when people see you, just imagine you're an open Bible. And what you do, what you say, how you react, the things you don't do, the things you do, everything's being watched. And you're just an open Bible, and maybe you're tainting the view of what people see God through you. you're probably allowing him to be tainted because of what you did, how you're representing him. So yes, your yes matters to God. Yes, your yes matters now. And you know what I think about Peter? I think Peter was trying so hard to be like the world. I think he was trying so hard to just sit in the crowd and be like, oh yeah, this is what everybody's doing, and no one's gonna know I'm a follower of Christ. No one's gonna know what I'm really doing. No one's gonna know that I'm one of his disciples. No one's gonna know. They're not gonna know. Yes, they did know, because you know what? Peter was so close to God. He was one of his disciples. Of course he was gonna be reflecting God. Of course he was going to smell like God. Of course he was going to talk like God. Of course he was going to eventually be like him, not exactly him in the same person, but he was going to grab a few things. He was going to learn a few things. And that's the same with you. It's the same thing with you. We want to shake off God really quick when it's convenient. We want to shake it off and be like, oh, you know what? It's not convenient right now. I'm going to shake it off. But Peter couldn't shake it off, and neither can you. And I know for a fact that sometimes we want to shake it off. We have those moments where we're like, God, it's so much easier to imitate the world. God, it's so much easier to just be like, I want to take the easy route. I don't want to go and do the hard part, do the hard work that you're calling me to do, or people are going to talk bad about me. I was so convicted recently. God had spoken to me and said, you know what, there's words that I'm speaking to you and you're holding back. And it spoke to me so much because I'm like, man, me holding back what God is putting in my heart or saying to me, and I'm not saying it's hurting me, but it's also hurting others. And Peter probably had that moment. If Peter would have said, yes, I do know God, what would have been the outcome? Maybe those people would have turned towards God and not away from God. We don't know. We don't know because he denied him 3 times. So what can God do through you when you say yes? What can he do? I'm telling you, your yes matters to God. Your yes is important. And the other thing I want to mention is, since God needs you, you have been chosen. And remember, when Peter was chosen, he was a sinner. He was a fisherman at that time. And God tells him, he's like, don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people. He uses him where he's at. He found him where he was. He didn't just leave him and say, oh, he's a sinner, I'm going to leave him off to the side. No, he chose him and found him exactly where he was. And if you're still doubting it, if you go to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, and it says, as you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him. That's what God says to you. Even though you're rejected by people, even though you're rejected by humans, even though everybody talks bad about you, God says, but you have been chosen by God, and you are precious to him. So remember that. Don't forget that part. Remember that God needs you. And remember that you can't just shake it off. You can't shake off what God has called you to do. You can't shake off that God needs you. You can't shake off, once you've walked with God, you can't shake it off. That seed is already planted in your life, and you're going to carry that with you. But who knows? Who knows what would have happened if he hadn't denied God? So I want to talk about something that happened to me yesterday, unfortunately. I was driving home, and I was probably maybe a minute away from my house, maybe less, probably 30 seconds. I was turning into my neighborhood. I signaled my blinker, and all the cars that were supposed to pass passed. I waited for them to pass. I'm turning, and this lady, God bless her, this lady turns, and she has a stop sign. I have right away, but she turns as I'm turning, and poof. But the backstory on this, Me and Mario had just decided to pay this car off. Not even a week ago. Not even a week ago. I didn't even get to celebrate. Yes, my car's paid off for a full week. Nope. No. My car's paid off. Got crashed by a lady who was supposed to stop, didn't see me, hit my car. Well, long story short, the crash happened, and Lord knows how I wanted to react. I wanted to ask this lady, what were you thinking? What were you doing? Did you not see me? Were you not paying attention? Which I probably wouldn't have went off on her anyways, but I was thinking it in my mind anyways. But I didn't. I didn't ask her that. The first thing she asked me was, are you okay? She was nice about it. I said, yes, I'm okay. And I forgot to ask her how she was, if she was okay. I'm not going to lie. But then I remembered, I should ask her too. So I asked her, I was like, hey, are you okay? And she said, yeah. Long story short, everything was fine. But when Mario got there, because I called him, I was like, hey, I'm in a car accident. I need you to come. Didn't say it in that way, but he got there. I told him, I was like, this is a testimony in itself. It's like, I know that God's going to take care of it. I know that even though the car's paid off, even though I got in a car accident, he's going to make it work for my good. It's not the way I expected it, but it's going to happen. I'm declaring it right now. I'm declaring that I'm going to get some good money or something. Something is going to come out of it. But the most important thing that I want to take away from it, and I want you to take away from it, is imagine if I had reacted towards that lady and been like, what were you thinking? You hit my car. You messed up my car. And for her to say, she did say this. She's like, oh, it's not that bad. So the first thing she said when she got out the car, I was like, my car's more messed up than your car, lady. But what if I had reacted that way? Imagine how she would have seen. I had the True Vine sticker on my car. Imagine what she would see. She's like, oh, this person goes to church. She reacted that way? Imagine. That was a test. How are you going to react in those moments? Those moments matter. Those moments shape you into what God's calling you to be. It matters. That's saying yes to God. That means you can't talk back to people. That means you got to hold your tongue sometimes. It means that when you say yes to God, you're going to have to go through those scenarios and be like, but God, I have every reason to go back at this person and be like, hey, you did this to me. You better pay me back. Don't worry. God's going to pay you back for it. But it leads me to this next point. Since God needs you, since he needs your yes, you got to prepare yourself. You got to make sure you are on guard. Because I'm sure if I wasn't connected to God, I'm sure if I wasn't feeding myself spiritually, I'm sure I probably would have said something I shouldn't have said. I'm sure of it. And I know you're thinking it too. I would have done this, or I would have done this. I would have punched this person, or I would have, who knows? You know what you would have done. But you got to get ready for the battle, because the devil's going to throw stuff at you sometimes. And you're going to have to walk through them. And when you walk through them, you better be ready. You better be ready, because if you're not ready, you're going to find yourself only on your knees when you need God. And that's sad. You should be on your knees day in, day out, day in, day out. You should be seeking God day in, day out. You should start serving. Serving helps. Not only does it help others, it helps you. It gives you accountability. It helps you to be responsible. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go party on Saturday night. I'm gonna get drunk. I'm going to do what I want. No, if you know you're going to serve, you know you're not going to go and party the next day. You know you're not going to go and get drunk the day before. You're going to be like, oh, I got to serve at church. Oh, I need to be there on time. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. It starts changing you. It starts molding you. You can start using your story. Use your testimony. When you're getting ready for the battle, you got to start guarding your heart. Sometimes you got to remove things from you. You got to be cautious about that. Maybe those friends that are influencing you to do something, maybe you got to remove yourself away from them. You got to remove the lies, the excuses that you tell yourself. Oh, I'm too young. Oh, I'm too old. I still have a lot of time ahead of me, or I don't have enough time ahead of me. Remove the lies. Get ready for the battle. You got to start praying that what you're feeling, that what you're doing, that what you want to do is from Him and not your own desires. I try to do this with everything that I do. If I'm going to do something big or small, big detail, small detail, I try my best to pray about it and ask God. I try. You gotta start creating those little habits. It starts preparing you for the battle, because when the battle comes, you're like, God, is this from you, or is this the enemy, or is this what is this? God, help me. You start getting discernment. Getting ready for the battle also means knowing who you are, knowing what God says about you, knowing what He says you are, who He says you are. You got to find it. You got to look in the Bible. You got to research it. You got to be like, God, what does it say about, what do you say about me? Or what's the love that's available to me? What are your promises for me? Start asking questions. Don't just expect pastors to be up here and be like, God said, blah, blah, blah. God said, no. Or expect the leaders to be like, God said, I need to tell you this, or here's the money that you needed. No. That's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. Nope. I'm going to tell you right now. The best way you're going to start getting ready for the battle, the best way you're going to fight back with the enemy is when you're on your knees, when you're praying. Maybe you got to start praying in the shower. Maybe you got to start praying in the car. Maybe you got to start praying when you're at the gym. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to start doing it. And you know it. You know what you got to do. It's probably been on your heart already. You got to grow yourself spiritually. If that means fasting, if that means listening to worship music. One of the rules I used to give myself, and I still do it sometimes, I wouldn't let myself listen to worldly music, like we call it, until midday. I would make sure everything in the morning that I would listen to was worship music, praise songs, everything uplifting God. That's one of the rules I had for myself. It helps me. That's one of the things that helps me. After that, I could listen to other songs, and I'm good with it. But I'm giving that to God. I'm giving that time to God. Do what you got to do. Figure it out. Ask God, God, is this what you want me to do? Is this where you're calling me to do? What is it? Start asking Him. If you don't ask Him, you're going to be lost forever. But you know what? When you start getting ready for the battle, you're going to start hearing His voice. We're going to be people who are after His heart. We're going to be people who are Spirit-led. And it's going to be so much easier that when you're in the battle, like when I was in that it wasn't a big car accident, but the only reason why it hurt me was because we just paid it off, and that hurts. Like, man, I didn't have to pay it off. Gap would have paid it off for me. I didn't have to pay it off. Who knows? But the only reason that it hurt me was because of that. And I lost my train of thought on that, but it will come back to me. But if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for that happening, if it wasn't for me being prepared, I probably would have been crying about it. I probably would have been upset about it. But no, the first thing I did was I laughed because I'm like, God, I know you're going to take care of it. I'm good. I was prepared for the battle. I was prepared for what came before me because I wasn't worried. I was like, God, I know you're going to take care of it. It's fine. It's good. All right, I'm ready. So when you're prepared, you're not going to react in the flesh. You're going to be ready for what the enemy lays before you. And sometimes, a lot of times, God does it in funny ways. He's like, you know what? I'm going to do it exactly like this. And it's like the complete opposite of what you ask God. God, I want it to be like this. God, I want it to be like this. And in this order, in this day, in this time, by tomorrow. And God's like, 10 years later, bam, it happened. You're like, I asked for it 10 years ago. I asked for it yesterday. And God's like, nope. But I think if you prepare your heart, if you really follow the Spirit, if you really begin to ask God in everything that you're doing, if you start saying yes to God sooner than pushing it away and be like, later I'll say yes to God, or later I'll say yes on that. I'll say yes to these things, but later I'll say yes to those things. You'll start seeing more blessings poured into your life. But always in the end, everything that we do, our yes only means that He gets glorified. Our yes has nothing to do with us, honestly. It has nothing to do with us receiving a reward or us getting something back. Honestly, the most important thing is just that God gets glorified, that people are pointed towards him, that people that are broken get to know him. That's the most important thing. But I just would hate for us to be like Peter and just deny God and be like, I don't know him. It's not convenient for me right now, or I don't need this. It's not the right time. Our desire, my desire, should be to say yes now. And I just want to read some lyrics in this song we're going to be singing on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. But it's so powerful. And it says, I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. And that is enough. And it goes and says, if he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? So if you're worried right now, if you're saying, man, I can't do it, I can't say yes right now, or I don't know who I am in Christ, that song, that's how verses right there. That's what the Bible says. That's all the Bible. If you didn't know that, that's the Bible. You got to read your Bible if you didn't catch on to that. But you are already loved. You are already chosen. Just like Peter was chosen, even though God knew he was going to deny him 3 times, even though you're going to make mistakes sometimes, God chooses you with all your mistakes, with all your baggage. He chooses you. He's just asking you to say yes. He's just asking you to say yes. And God, use me where you want to use me. Maybe it's not where you're expecting to be used. But if you say yes, if you're obedient, there's no limit. There's no limit. So, and at the end of that song, it says, that is enough. If you're worried about what's going to happen, or that you're overlooked, if you're worried about that stuff, it says, if he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more is he going to do that for you? What is he going to do for you? What can he do for you? So in this moment, we're just going to pray. I'm going to end with that. Father, you see the hearts. Father, you see the people who are in need right now, the people who are struggling, Jesus. God, and we just come before you and we just thank you. We thank you for choosing us, God. We thank you for giving us the option, God, to say yes or to say no, God. But let it be your desire that is in our hearts. And let the desire grow in us, God. Or give us more of a desire to say yes. To say yes to what you are calling us to do. To say yes for what your people needs, what your church needs, God. God, and we trust that you are going to work it through for us. We trust that if we are overlooked, God, we trust that anything that is coming against us, God, you're going to make it work. Because that's what Resurrection Sunday is all about, God. It means you already got the victory. So we just declare that over every single person in this moment, God. That we walk in victory from this moment on. That you clothe our mind, God. That you cover our mind with your precious blood. Remove the lies of the enemy in this moment, God. And we just thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for allowing us to say yes, God. Now use us, put us to work, lead us, guide us, show us the way, Jesus. Let us be a spirit-led church, a spirit-led people. And we just thank you for this opportunity, God. We want to thank you for joining us on midweek. We hope this word has blessed you. We will see you either Friday or we will see you on Sunday. Don't forget, invite someone. God bless you.
Hey friends, I'm Isis. Today's Bible story is Peter denies knowing Jesus.
Oh, big idea. Jesus saved us from sin, so we can boldly tell others that I'm with him.
Peter was afraid of what would happen if he admitted he followed Jesus. But Jesus is the best news ever. We should boldly tell others that we belong to him. Jesus is good news. Following him is nothing to be ashamed of. It's the sanest decision you can ever make. Who can you tell about Jesus this week?
Isis, have you ever been afraid to tell people that you follow Jesus?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No.
Have a blessed day!
Trying to give your tithes and offerings but don't know where to go? Visit our website at truevinephoenix.com and select the Giving tab. Or text the number on your screen. We appreciate your ongoing support.